right, so we are going to do an unboxing video for the Powerlink Zeros from Wahoo. And these are actually Speedplay by Wahoo by Speedplay. Speedplay by Wahoo. One of those. So it comes in a nice little box and then you slide it out. And inside we have our two pedals, which we'll look at in just a minute. Comes with the bolts, the new backwards compatible Wahoo cleats, and 3-bolt adapters for shoes, as well as
looks like the charging
probably
clip.
The charging clip for one and for the other.
Can you charge them both at the same time? Do they have a Y splitter cable in there?
Let's see.
That's what I need to know now.
Let's see here. We'll just break right into that.
Negative review points for ripping the packaging.
Y splitter cable though. Positive review points for that.
Sweet.
All right, and then more bolts. These will be the bolts that attach the cleat to the adapter. And another cleat.
I don't know what that's for, but more of them.
More, it's probably a shim. And then these are rings, so you can shim the pedal outward just a little bit. And more pedal bolts.
More bolts. More bolts than my bicycle.
And more shims, it looks like. So
okay.
Kudos to Wahoo for giving you lots of options to be able to adapt different angles, we already know that with Speedplay you can adjust different float. Looks like you can also adjust for a little bit of like leg length discrepancy with these potentially. Yeah. So cool stuff there. So let's dive into weights. Okay, we're gonna do some comparisons on weights. And just for the video's comparison, we actually have here some non-power Dura Ace pedals, some single-sided Garmin Rally RS power pedals, some Wahoo Speedplay Nano non-power pedals, and the focal point of the review, the Powerlink Zero dual power meter pedals. So starting with just the pedals, we're going to do the Wahoo Powerlink Dual. Oh, first we need to. All right. So for these, we're looking at 276 grams for just the pedals. Snapshot that. All right. Next, we'll go ahead and weigh the Speedplay Nano pedals. And for these, we're looking at 170 grams. So about 100-gram penalty between the power meter and the non-power meter versions of the pedal, which, all things considered, isn't too bad. The Garmin Rally RS, these are the Shimano compatible ones, single-sided. Looks like they're about 50 grams heavier than the power meter version of the Wahoo. And last but not least, Dura Ace. All right, and these fall right in the middle. Okay, so the last thing that we wanted to consider on this one as far as weights go is that Wahoo, as opposed to the Shimano type pedals, runs a little bit heavier pedal system because of their cleats and how they're set up. This is what you're looking at for a Wahoo cleat. versus your Shimano cleat. And so we wanted to make sure that we called out the differences in total system weight. So for the total system for the Wahoo Powerlink pedals, we are looking at 447 grams. And let's snag those like that. If we did our math right, this should be 341. Yep, just about 100 grams different. All right.
Then just for comparison's sake, let's also do the Shimano-based pedals with their hardware. This would be everything you would need to ride with these different pedal types.
Obviously, we're not including shoes here because, well, everyone rides different size shoes. So for the Garmin Rally, we're looking at 395. And non-power Dura Ace, 313. 12. All right.
So super helpful to have a breakdown of all the different ways that the weights play out, and
yeah,
it's nice because it gives you a lot of flexibility, and I'll say that's probably one of the strong points of the Wahoo cleat system.
Definitely. I think between these, although you do have a little bit of a weight penalty on these, ultimately these are the lightest power meter pedal option that you can have, and as far as your bike weight goes, which really is all that matters, your bike will be lighter. So in addition to that, the flexibility that you have to adjust the float, the shims that they come with, all of those things, I'd say Wahoo's got to win that just for the adjustability and ease of riding after that. Okay, so just recapping this, these are some awesome pedals. Huge benefits of these are, one, as the pedal alone for a power meter pedal, you're looking at 50 grams lighter than the Garmin Rally system. So pretty good weight difference there. Additional to that, you're actually able to clip in on both sides rather than just this. So if you've ever tried to clip in at a stoplight, it's going to be a lot easier with these Wahoos. Frequently something that is frustrating about the Shimano pedals.
I will say you can also adjust the cleat tension, how hard it is to clip in and out on the Wahoos pretty easily. You can't do that very much on the Garmin. I know you can, but you can't, if that makes sense.
You're kind of limited to like, what, 3 clicks?
They give you some options, but the clip strength is pretty strong. With Wahoo, you have a little bit more of a range, similar to, I would say, more like the Dura Ace pedals, where you can kind of also dial the tension up or down. Mm-hmm. The nice thing about the Wahoo as well is you can kind of dictate how much float you have.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can choose between 0 degree float and all the way up to, I think, 15 to 20 degree float.
Yeah, I think one of the most common comments that people make about the Wahoo pedals, and something I'd agree with, is that if you're someone who frequently struggles with any kind of knee pain or anything within your, muscle tendonitis, that sort of thing, frequently I've heard that Wahoo is the pedal to get. And if you're swapping between different bikes for triathlons, for renting, if you're going out of town, these are going to be super convenient to be able to just pop on your bike. And then you'll know that already your cleats will be adjusted to exactly where they need to be in order to have the float and everything that you need.
One more thing we wanted to point out about these Wahoo Speedplay pedals and the way that they measure power is how they interact with your shoe.
One thing we weren't able to put in this video because we don't own them is the Favero Osioma pedal, another competitor to these. Tyler actually has pretty big feet to where on the Favero Osceola, his pod would actually hit just like that. You can kind of see how it contacts right there. With the Wahoo, they've actually gone in and given you a little bit more space, and it's not much, but you can see just in there how there's just enough room in there that he wouldn't actually hit his pedal. So they've actually gone in and solved that problem.
And that's really important, because if your shoe is hitting that pod, it's going to give you bad power readings. And for anybody who's watching, this is a size 47, 48 shoe, and with the Faveros that I tried previously, the shoe did hit the pod, but with these Speedplay ones, it looks like the pod has been milled down just enough on the edges to give you that room. So if you have large feet, you shouldn't run into any issues, but that is something you'll want to check if you do go ahead and buy these pedals, because you'll want to have accurate power readings.
Yeah, I'm a size 42 shoe, so it's not really something I worry about, but absolutely something to consider. So we were able to get these charging, which we wanted to call out that Wahoo has a pretty good system here. We recently did a video for the new Dura Ace 9200 group, and the charging cable that they use for that group is very much just a cable. If you break that cable, good luck. But I like what Wahoo's done here, because they've actually created a little bit more of a universal system. You have your USB-C cable here, and that plugs into the adapter, which charges the pedal. So if you need to replace this adapter, I imagine it'll be a lot easier to do that than to replace a $100 Di2 cable. So really cool system that Wahoo's put together there for us.
Okay, lastly, let's take a look at the accuracy of these pedals, at least to the best of our ability. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with calibrating the Powerlink pedals. And you want to make sure you calibrate basically before every ride, just standard practice with power meters. As far as power sources, so the Wahoo is connected to the Powerlink Zero dual-sided pedals, and the Garmin is connected to the Wahoo Kickr V5. So the power source should be very similar between these two devices if they are accurate. The heart rate monitor paired to the devices is the exact same, so that will help us determine if there's any lag in recording between these two devices. You can see that the Garmin records just a little bit faster than the Wahoo device. So if you see that power number increase on the Garmin just a little bit before it increases on the Wahoo, that's not because the Powerlink pedals are inaccurate, it's just the recording interval of these devices. And so far, it looks like things are tracking pretty well at this just kind of lower power, lower cadence, within a couple of watts. It looks like the pedals respond a little bit faster to changes in power, which is to be expected. Usually the pedals are the first power source that will change, and then it would go crank arms or spider, and then further down the line is your trainer or your rear hub. So that looks pretty good. Ramping it up into a slightly higher zone and a more average cadence for a cyclist. The numbers again look to be pretty close. I'd say, within 1 to 5 watts of each other at most times, which is a good sign. That means you can use these for comparing on harder efforts. So ramping up the power and ramping up the cadence. Again, looking pretty good. The pedals are either more accurate or just overshooting slightly on this harder effort. It's really hard to tell when you have a pedal versus a trainer, but all in all, within a few watts, within 1% or 2%, it's lining up really well. So that's a good sign. Now we will go ahead and just wrap this up for today. I wish that I could do a little bit closer power analysis, but I am short on time. So So this is about as good as we're going to get for right now. Hopefully in the future we can do some more close comparisons to a bunch of different types of power meters. We'd love to be able to compare it to the Garmin pedals, the Kickr, the crank arm power meters that we have, a Shimano power meter, a Pioneer power meter. So we have lots of potential to analyze these power numbers a little bit further in the future. But for today, this is just kind of an initial first look and just a gut check to make sure it's at least in the ballpark, which it does look like it is. So thanks for watching. Subscribe for more, and we'll get into more testing in the future. Thanks, guys.